Hello, I would like to welcome all you retards and screwheads to the latest edition of my show. This is a channel devoted to taking news stories from the popular in the cycle, the media cycle, and putting a biblical slant on it. The first story, it's an interesting one. 4 teachers were stabbed at a park in Jilin, China. And I was looking at Zero Hedge. It's a popular website, and in the comments, most of the commenters seem to think that somehow this is sanctioned by the CCP, that somehow they're joyful that 4 Americans were stabbed in a park. And I'm just bringing this up because I lived in China for 2.5, 3 years. I had to get out when COVID came. I couldn't bear the thought of staying in China when COVID is there and all the forced lockdowns and whatnot. So I hit the road as fast as possible. But I will say this. The CCP isn't joyful when 4 American teachers get stabbed. They're not into that. If anything, it would make them feel ashamed. You know, that they're all into public order. Anything that goes against public order drives the CCP insane. So the idea that no matter where you're from, that you could walk through a park in China and get stabbed by a maniac, to them is egg on the face. So this isn't sanctioned by the CCP or by the Chinese people. In fact, you know, this might come as a surprise. Chinese people really love Americans. I know that sounds crazy, but they love us. I don't know why we're like these white unicorns, and when they're so much into us, it shocks me. It still shocks me. In fact, the color white is associated with good luck over there. And sometimes when I go see a movie, they'd have commercials before the film. This was pre-COVID. You know, you get little commercials, buy this product or yada yada, this, that, the next thing. And one of the commercials always featured this Chinese woman getting married to a white guy. She's in her wedding dress and the white guy's there. And let me tell you, that would never happen in South Korea. There's no way that kind of race mixing would be advocated by the government, you know. It's pretty racist in South Korea compared to China. So I'm in no way sticking up for the CCP. Living under their control at times could be quite bothersome. For instance, you don't have access to Google Mail, things like that, so you have to get a VPN. And then the Chinese government, which knew you had a VPN, knew all the foreigners have a VPN, but just to be bad on certain occasions, they'd shut it down. Just to show you who was in charge, you know, like especially around when it came to Tiananmen Square time. Boom, that VPN was shut down. And they can shut it down anytime they want. They're not dumb people. They let it function. They let the VPNs function for the foreigners. Like I said, occasionally they just want to show you, hey, you're a visitor here and we know what you're doing, and we can shut it down anytime. So that's just the way they operate. In fact, I used to go to a church in China. You know, this idea that Christianity is illegal is not true. It's just that you have to have a state-governed, a state-sanctioned church, right? And we would have a spy in the church, but everyone knew he was a government official. So the pastor could say, oh, this is Mr. Chang. He's with the government. And then Mr. Chang would stand up and wave with a smile. You know, and that kind of thing. I like China. I can't, you know, I liked it. The prices are cheap. The food is delicious. I enjoyed it. And it's safe. It's a safe country. Far more Chinese people have been killed or stabbed in America than the opposite way around. Again, this is no apology for the CCP. They do make life uncomfortable. But no, this idea that they're behind the stabbing or that somehow they sanctioned it or it brings them joy. No, nothing could be further from the truth. Next story is Juneteenth. I saw President Biden. He was at a celebration for Juneteenth, and suddenly he just froze. And he had this big goofy grin, and he was staring into space. It was like, and it was just, it was so crazy looking, and he just froze, because he's older than dirt, and he's just not up to the job anymore. And I think it's cruelty to continue to make him function as president of the United States. There's a real cruelty to it. Everyone else was dancing and clapping their hands. Hey, yeah, Juneteenth, yeah, yeah. And there he was, just as stiff as a board with that big goofy smile. And it's scary, because this guy is the leader of the free world. And let me put a biblical slant, because that's part, sometimes I forget to do that, but that's the main component of this channel, is putting a biblical slant on these news stories. I'm going to go to Romans 1 when Paul talks about societies, when God leaves a society, when God says, oh, I've had enough. And I think I've done this in another video, but it starts with a sexual revolution. That's the first sign. And we've seen that in the 60s, the 70s, right? And then it goes to the homosexual revolution, which we're going through now. And then it goes to insanity, where people can't even tell the difference between craziness and normality. And when you're president, when you vote for a guy who's just staring into space like a pet rock, or a jack-o'-lantern with that big goofy grin on his face, you think to yourself, who would vote for that guy, right? Who's nuts enough to vote for him? Again, it's when people lose their minds. And then there was a commentator who came on and said, well, Joe's okay. He's not doing that bad. And it's like, are you crazy? We're not supposed to believe our lying eyes. So it's almost at 7:30. I don't like to, 7 minutes and 30 seconds. I don't like to go over 10 minutes. So I'm going to do one more story. And the big story today, which I don't even really find that interesting, is Hunter Biden was found guilty of a felony. And it had something to do, he bought a gun, but at the time he bought a gun, he was a drug addict, supposedly, and he put a sign, he clicked that he wasn't a drug addict, and the jury didn't believe him, so now he's charged with a felony for gun possession, illegal gun possession. And I don't find the story that interesting. The only thing that I find interesting about it is the laptop and the idea of election interference. And again, this is old news going back to 2020, before the election in 2020, when we had this laptop and it was just filled with all kinds of disgusting images about Hunter and his family situation. And the media lied and said, no, this is Russian disinformation. And then the members of the spy community in America, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, James Clapper, Leon Panetta, John Brennan, there are 51 of them, all sat there and lied to us and said, no, this is not Hunter Biden, this is Russian disinformation. And then the social media companies like Twitter at the time said, oh no, Facebook, you're not allowed to mention that. And, I talked about the journalists, but Leslie Stahl, she's a big shot over at CBS, said, oh no, we can't talk about that, Mr. President. It hasn't been verified. And it's about election interference, about trying to change the vote. It's pretty disgusting, in my opinion. But that's the times we live in. Anyway, I'm almost at the end of the show here, because it's going to be 10 minutes. So before I go, I want to tell you all, to have a great day and to enjoy it, because you never know, it might be your last day on earth. And if you like this, do me a favor, subscribe, hit the like button. That'll help out with the circulation or whatever. Anyway, God bless you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.